It's no secret that barefoot horsemanship is becoming increasingly popular, but is it right for every horse in every situation? Welcome to Ginny's Horse Product Review. I'm Ginny and I have a really great video for you today. It really depends on a variety of factors. Make sure to ask yourself some important questions before you take the plunge into going barefoot with your horse. My barefoot horse journey started when I was a kid. My dad did not like horses that needed shoes, so we ended up with horses for the most part that had really strong, tough hooves and went barefoot without the need for shoes. In my family, we've always been firm believers in the no hoof, no horse philosophy. So whenever we were horse shopping or looking at horses, it was really important that they had good, strong, healthy hooves. With that being said, over the past few years, I've gotten into booting and making sure that my barefoot horses are comfortable even in more difficult terrain and longer miles and things like that. So I definitely have an understanding of what it takes to have a comfortable barefoot horse and to make sure that it's right for you and your situation. When it comes to the decision to take your horse barefoot, there are a lot of questions you should ask yourself before you just jump right into it. First of all, is your horse currently shod? And to go along with that question, are they shod year-round? Do they come out of shoes in the winter? How long has your horse been in shoes? All these questions are going to determine the amount of time it takes to transition to barefoot and how easy or difficult or challenging that could be for your particular horse. If your horse is currently shod, why does he wear shoes or why does she wear shoes? Is it for competition? Is it therapeutic? Are there already hoof issues going on? And these are good questions and things to discuss with your farrier as well. Depending on the amount of time your horse has spent in shoes or the reason why they're shod, perhaps for therapeutic reasons or competition, long-term, things like that, this can determine the amount of time it's going to take to transition to being, fully barefoot and sound and happy barefoot. Another important question you need to ask yourself is, what type of riding do you do? Are you a pleasure trail rider? Endurance? Are you dressage, jumping, reining, Western pleasure, things like this? These are all gonna, have a bearing on your decision on whether or not you can and should take your horse barefoot and how that's gonna impact your competition schedule and other things like that. Are you going to be able to accommodate a transition period for your horse? This can get expensive if your horse needs, certain types of therapeutic hoof boots to get through this time. And this is something, again, to definitely discuss and ask your farrier about. Another thing to ask yourself is, have you researched hoof boots? And is this something that you're comfortable with if your horse needs additional protection? My horses have incredibly tough, healthy, strong hooves. They've been barefoot forever, and I still find it necessary to put hoof boots on from time to time, whether we're going over rocky terrain or, hard pavement or other things. Your horse might still need protection in a lot of different environments. When we talk about going barefoot, it's not just pulling shoes and then having nothing on the hoof ever. Your horse may still need protection or support in a lot of different situations. So you need to make sure that you could be committed to booting your horse when necessary. And there is definitely a steep learning curve when it comes to hoof boots, and certainly an initial expense. And if your horse is transitioning, they can change sizes and that can make it a little more expensive too. Each person has to decide for themselves what they're going to be committed to as far as learning about barefoot and hoof boots and things like that, because it does take a little bit extra from the horse owner, a little bit of extra labor, studying, education, and commitment to have a successful barefoot horse. And I know that people with shod horses also have a lot, to work toward to make sure that their horses are sound. But a lot of that is working with your farrier and having that professional handle those things for you. When it comes to barefoot and booting, you're going to have to take in the, kind of be in the driver's seat for a lot of that in between trims and things like that, and making sure that your horse is comfortable and has well-fitting boots when they need protection and support. And so again, this is something you need to really come to terms with and decide for yourself if you're comfortable with making that commitment before you take your horse barefoot. Another thing to consider is also your horse's diet and lifestyle. So this is also perhaps a conversation you could have with your vet and also your farrier, just to make sure you have optimal hoof health. We know that diet, exercise, lifestyle, how your horse lives, and things like that all have an impact on their hoof health. So when it comes to being barefoot, there's no hiding issues or, being able to kind of deal with them every 6 to 8 weeks on a shoeing schedule, you're going to have to deal with whatever hoof issues come about with your horse without slapping a shoe on it. So it definitely is going to require, you to become a lot more knowledgeable and to spend a lot more time learning about optimal living conditions and management for your horse if you want them to have healthy bare feet. If you're watching this video, it's probably because you've already heard there's a lot of benefits to taking your horse barefoot, and I just want you to know that it's not as simple as pulling those shoes and then, hitting the arena or hitting the trail. There is a steep learning curve, and there are a lot of things to consider, and it does take commitment from the part of the horse owner and rider. So these are a lot of things you need to think about before you take your horse barefoot. If you're interested in learning more about hoof boots or what hoof boots might be right for you, definitely check out some of my other videos. I've reviewed hoof boots. If you've taken your horse barefoot, or maybe you disagree with me and you're going to keep your horse shod, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear about your horse's hoof journey, and I can't wait to hear from you. Subscribe to my channel and hit the bell so you don't miss next week's video. Until next time, happy trails.